breaking news into the Fanfare newsfeed.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They want you silent. And I am the only one that can save this nation because you know they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job.
Should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve any wide rules. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is a political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
There will be 12 jurors eventually and 6 alternates who will sit in judgment of the former president. This is how the jury selection is going to work. 100 people at a time will be called into the courtroom, and Judge Juan Merchan will explain the case to them and ask if any prospective juror does not think they can be fair and impartial. Of those folks who raise their hands and cannot, well, they'll be excused. And of the remaining people, they'll be seated in the jury box in small groups and given the 42-question questionnaire before each one is questioned individually by a prosecutor and a defense lawyer. They're not using names. They will be assigned numbers. It's an anonymous jury. The former president is charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records, for hiding $130,000 in payments during the 2016 presidential race, all to cover up his alleged affair with Stormy Daniels. You know, he denies that. He is also accused of funneling money through his lawyer, Michael Cohen. Those funds, then used to reimburse him, were listed by the Trump Organization illegally, say prosecutors, as legal expenses.
Does any American with a functioning brain really think that this is right? It's obvious. These lawsuits and trials are completely corrupt and fixed. And the worst part is they aren't even trying to hide it anymore. The sole purpose of all of these cases is to get Trump. If you have any belief in your mind that Donald Trump can get a fair trial with all these Democrat operatives running these trials, and make no mistake, don't let anyone tell you otherwise, all of these trials are being run by live nuts. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what the Alvin Bragg trial is all about. To dissect what's really going on, you first have to understand the main objective here is to keep Donald Trump off the campaign trail.
So, Greg, it's finally going to happen. How many days do you think this will take to get 12 jurors and 6 alternates?
Could take as long as 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. But it's really up to the judge to limit the amount of voir dire, the questioning of the jurors, and, move forward. But I must tell you, I've never seen such a tangled, torturous prosecution that would be brought against no other person except Trump. It's punitive, it's politically driven. Bragg contorting the law, taking a business record misdemeanor barred by the statute of limitations and magically inflating it into 34 felonies, as Eric Shawn pointed out. To do that, he had to attach it to a supposed election law violation. Well, it's not. Federal Election Commission investigated, and they said this is perfectly legal. It is not a campaign donation. The DOJ concluded there's no crime here. But, enter Alvin Bragg, who's charging under federal law, even though he's a local prosecutor and has no jurisdiction and authority to do that. But the judge is letting him get away with it.
Right. To set the stage, understand that jury selection is supposed to take about 2 weeks. And then after jury selection, the actual trial is supposed to take 8 weeks. That's 10 weeks, nearly 3 months. And this corrupt judge in this case has mandated that Donald Trump be in court for every single session. That means they are basically making it almost impossible for Donald Trump to campaign for president for the next 3 months. That's obviously what they think. That's obviously what their objective is. But I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is going to find a way to take center stage in all of this and get the word out to all of his supporters. But before we go much further, let's take a look at this corrupt judge overseeing the Alvin Bragg case.
This judge in the Alvin Bragg case, is a disgrace. He is a rogue, out of control Democrat hack with a black robe. He's making statements that are outrageous. He has an unconstitutional gag order to protect his daughter and other.
Yeah, and everybody else in this case is running their mouth. Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, Alvin Bragg, everybody is out there talking. But no, Donald Trump, you can't. And here's why.
People, not from violence, but being exposed. Donald Trump has a First Amendment constitutional right to speak as a citizen, and even more so as he's running for president as a former president, and everybody else is speaking against him. Everybody else is making allegations. But this judge, whose daughter has raised over $90 million on the case that he is overseeing.
Now, did you know that? Unless you've seen Mark Levin and some of the other pundits on television who talk for Donald Trump, I bet you didn't know that. This judge's daughter, the judge's daughter, has raised $90 million for Democrats to go after Donald Trump. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. But at the same time, the judges said, Donald Trump, don't mention my daughter's name. I'll put you in jail. It's absolutely incredible.
Monies that have been raised for Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer's Political Action Committee. He doesn't see any conflict of interest. He's donated to Democrats in the past. These judges in New York, what a disgrace. You got to be nuts to stay in New York if you can get the hell out of there.
And that's absolutely correct. If you can't leave New York, I understand. You might not be financially in a position where you can get out of there. But I've talked to so many people who have said, we've had it. We are so done with New York. And it's unfortunate because there's some good people in New York City. There's some good people upstate in New York, but they are going to pay the price because of what these judges and these prosecutors in New York are doing. Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, they're all in the tank for the Democrat Party.
And so this judge now makes a comment about he's handling a federal insurrection case. This judge is not only a political hack, he's dumb as a doorknob.
Now understand, there has been not a single, not one, nowhere, not in any court has there been any insurrection charge levied against Donald Trump. You'll hear it in the media, they keep saying it over and over, but not one single case, not one single charge of the 91 charges has been about an insurrection. It's all BS, but they keep spewing it and putting it on the record of the court. Why? Because they want to injure Donald Trump in the future as well. They want to use insurrection, even though there was no insurrection. So you make it make sense.
But it doesn't matter. It's going to be a Democrat jury in Manhattan that hates Donald Trump. They already got the word from Biden. They got the word from the media, and they know what their job is. It's not to do justice. It's to convict, and that's the whole goal here.
And I think, unfortunately, they will be successful in that. I hate even saying it, but I think they will convict Donald Trump. I don't think they care what evidence is put out. I don't think they care what witnesses testify. I think they're walking into court knowing dutifully what their job is, and their job is to put Donald Trump in jail. That is exactly what they're going to try and do, and unfortunately, they may be successful in New York City.
And of course, with the immunity issued before the U.S. Supreme Court, Trump's lawyers said to this local state, I guess, judge, let this immunity decision be decided because all this may not, no, we're going for it anyway. Why?
What was the hurry? Why did you have to rush this case? Well, there's only one reason.
We have a calendar. What's on the calendar? The election. We have 2 memos, actually 4 memos from 4 previous attorneys general, including the current one, that warn prosecutors not to interfere with an election. And
they were told many times, many years, many attorney generals were told, don't interfere with an election. This is specifically right smack dab in the middle of an election, and they're going for it anyway.
By the way, the case that's being brought in Manhattan is almost identical to the case that was brought by Jack Smith. You may have heard of him. He's back. He's the federal prosecutor that the Biden regime appointed to try and destroy Donald Trump. And that was the case against John Edwards, where they tried to turn a perfectly legitimate donation to his campaign, in which case that donation was used to keep his lover out of sight. And they tried to turn that, did Smith, rewrite the statute that was an illegal campaign contribution that should have been reported a different way.
And he's telling you the absolute truth. You can go back and look it up. History repeats itself, especially with these prosecutors.
And the jury found in 6 charges, not guilty or a hung jury with 1 juror. And the Department of Justice decided not to take that case. Well, guess what? The former Biden employee at the Department of Justice who worked for Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, he's dusted it off. He's using the same case.
See, not a lot of you know that. It's the same insidious creatures. It's the same people who are running those other cases. They've been embedded by the Biden administration. Alvin Bragg is a chump. He's just a face out there. Letitia James, she's a chump. That's just a face out there. Underneath is who's actually running everything. They are just puppets like Joe is a puppet. They are just being told to file what needs to be filed. That's why he runs when people put the microphone in front of his face, because Alvin Bragg is incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's why New York's crime is going crazy. He's letting these people out of jail, no bail, beating up cops. He doesn't know what he's doing. He was installed by George Soros, or rather, I won't say the word installed because then they'll say it's misinformation. He was financed and backed and promoted by George Soros. He got into office, same as Letitia James. Both of them were, from the Soros camp, you could say. And now they're going after Donald Trump. But meanwhile, they are just puppets. Below the scenes, what you don't see behind the curtain are Biden operatives that are actually running everything.
I figure it's a different jury, and they got this thing licked. 32 or 34 counts they brought. They figure all they need is 1.
You won't hear that info on CNN or MSNBC or any of the other networks because they don't want you to actually know the truth. They will just be relentlessly gleeful at the prospect of getting Trump and actually embarrassing him and his family and anyone associated with him. How pathetic is the media? I believe that these cases are going to irreparably damage the media. I don't think they can recover from all of this insanity. That's why you see legal scholars, Democrat, Republican, independents, all trying to distance themselves from the insanity and absurdity of this case.
Jonathan, I want to get your take on what's most important for us to understand about all of these trials to come and tomorrow's jury selection for Donald Trump. And while you're telling us, I'm going to put up this letter. This is from Stormy Daniels that President Trump posted. I know you've seen this. It says, Stormy Daniels writes, the fact of the matter is that each party to this alleged affair denied its existence in 2006, 2011, 2016, 2017, and now again in 2018. I'm not denying this affair because I was paid hush money. I'm denying the affair because it never happened, writes Stormy Daniels. Sir.
Yeah, everything about this case is, in my view, legally absurd. This case is basically a state misdemeanor that had run out on the statute of limitations. And Bragg was forced, after he declined for a long time to bring this charge, to do so. His predecessor rejected it. And so they took a dead misdemeanor and bootstrapped it into effectively trying a federal crime. But the federal crime here under election law was rejected by the Department of Justice. They didn't feel that this should be charged. So you have this crazy case that's going to go forward, and it's going to turn on the testimony of people like Michael Cohen. And Michael Cohen just recently had a judge call him a serial perjurer. Wow. And he's going to appear as the center of this case.
Unbelievable.
In case you're not aware, Jonathan Turley is not a Republican. I don't even think he's a Donald Trump supporter, but he is a recognized and awarded constitutional scholar. As a legal umpire per se, he calls balls and strikes in relation to the Constitution and the application of the law. And he has said over and over, He has looked at all of these cases, and he said in regards to these cases, none of them even come close to being in the strike zone. They are merely being used to wage war against Donald Trump. They are truly lawfare. As Maria Bartiromo even pointed out, and I showed it in my video, there's an actual letter signed by Stormy Daniels herself that should blow this case to smithereens. But watch, it won't matter. They will likely put 12 nutbags from New York on the jury who don't care what the evidence says, who don't care what the witnesses have to say. Their job is to convict Trump. And after all, the prosecution has their star witness, and he's going to be doing his best to collect his 30 pieces of silver.
Greg, let's talk about the prosecutor's star witness. It's Michael Cohen, who used to be Trump's lawyer. Exactly. We chuckle because he's flip-flopped so many times in the past. We don't know what to believe. He's been in prison for federal charges himself. So here is a reminder of what he has said, because he told the grand jury a year ago his goal was to tell the truth. But what is the truth? He flip-flops. Listen.
I will be in D.C. and in New York. Anywhere Mr. Trump deems necessary, I'll be there. I did not want to go to the White House. I was offered jobs. Not only is Donald Trump not a racist, he believes that all people are part of one race, the human race. I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat. The words the media should be using to describe Mr. Trump are generous, compassionate, principled, empathetic, kind, humble, honest, and genuine. He is capable of behaving kindly, but he is not kind. He is capable of committing acts of generosity, but he is not generous. He is capable of being loyal, but he is fundamentally disloyal.
Greg, how can this be the star witness?
Ainsley is right. How can this guy possibly be the prosecution's star witness? The guy is obviously not credible. He actually has been put in jail for perjury, or rather, for being perjurious. Nothing about these cases make any sense whatsoever. Nothing. Absolutely nothing about these cases make any legal sense whatsoever. They are solely being brought to get Trump. As I said earlier, there is no way that you have a functioning frontal lobe and believe any of this crap. We all know that. And you know who else knows that? Donald Trump.
That's Alvin Bragg. He's a Soros-appointed prosecutor. And a liberal Fordham University law professor writing in the New York Times called the case a disaster, a legal embarrassment, and a setback to the rule of law and order, and a really bad thing for New York. And businesses aren't going to move into New York because of what they're doing. Their legal system is shot. It's a joke all over the world. But when I walk into that courtroom, I know I will have the love of 200 million Americans behind me, and I will be fighting for the... That's right. That's right. And I will be fighting for the freedom of 325 million Americans.
If you're a praying person, pray for Donald Trump. If you're not a praying person, now would be a good time to start. Because right now, they're going after Trump. But you would have to be an absolute fool to not know what comes next if they succeed with getting Trump. I may make another video as news breaks throughout the day on this case, but let me know what you think about the absurdity of Alvin Bragg, Judge Merchan, and them bringing this case now with Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen as their lead witnesses. It's absurd. It's disgusting. This isn't the America I grew up in. Let me know what you think. Talk to you soon.
Should never been brought. It doesn't deserve any wide laws. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is a political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.